Welcome to the Be Here Now guest podcast. This series features a collection of teachings and conversations centered around mindfulness, spiritual growth, and living a life in balance. Each week, our diverse network of guest teachers and hosts offer up wisdom and practices from a different spiritual path and perspective. If you would like to support this podcast, please visit BeHereNowNetwork.com/donate.
I've always worked with recordings that I've made, whether it's nature or people, because it feels like that's what you're given. And I also thought it'd be interesting if Ram Dass essentially, in some ways, gets to choose what he wanted to speak to and make that very relevant to the moment. But I did say also, the bottom line is, if I'm gonna make this music and it's about this man's legacy and his work, I really feel I need to look him eye to eye, soul to soul, even if he's having a day where he can't speak, and that's all we do. I felt like that was important, and you said, you're right. Then we gotta do it.
And thank you for that.
Thank you.
What came out is just beautiful. East Forest.
Thanks, Raghu. Well, it was indeed a magical week over there. I came over. Who's met Dasima, the wonderful Dasima? Yeah, Dasima was sort of like the last line of defense, and I'd gotten through these various, let's call them, cosmic hoops that we're just speaking of, and I get all the way there. And I finally had to call Dasima and be like, can we schedule a time? And Dasima couldn't have been sweeter to me, but I was also, respected her, and I was a bit cautious and afraid. She's very strong energy. And she said, come over Friday or Tuesday, we do a kirtan, and maybe the next day we can do some of the recording, like after lunch. And I came over on Friday or Tuesday, and I walk in, there's lots of people there. And Rita, part of the Sangha, wonderful Rita, who's not here right now, but she kind of brought me in, and she's like, okay, sit right here on the edge of this couch. I said, okay. I sit on the couch, and then Ram Dass is wheeled right next to me. And of course, I'm like, we hadn't met yet, and I'm just sort of sitting there for a while. And I hadn't met Dasima yet. We just spoken on the phone. And then I'm there for a little while, and Dasima comes over and says, you're crowding Ram Dass, you need to move. And I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing, where am I? I was just, and so I was, of course, mortified. And so I sat in the back corner, did the kirtan. The next day I came over, and Dasima was very sweet. And I realized, he needed that too. And I totally got it. And she was so sweet, and she's like, there's a window here. I think this is a good time to come over. And I went up into the study, and we're sort of setting up the mics, and we still hadn't really met, Ram Dass and I. And we get it all set up, and I hit record, and the door shuts. And then he finally just kind of looked over at me, and we just eye gazed, and I was completely like, oh my God, this is a big deal. And I called it, I felt like I was in the spiritual White House, and someone was gonna be like, you don't have top secret clearance. You gotta, we just did the research, you gotta go. But in the midst of this, I'm just eye gazing and really having my heart exploding, and seeing the pictures of Maharaji around the room, seeing this wonderful picture behind Ram Dass, just over his shoulder, of Maharaji laughing, and sort of almost laughing for me and at me to say, see, we're all under the blanket. We're all souls crossing paths, and this is happening too, and this is happening. And a few more minutes of eye gazing, and then I realized we're recording audio, and I was like, I did think, as Raghu said, this will be a conversation. And then I realized I need to ask some questions, because we're just gonna eye gaze, and I could do this, but I don't think you guys would be that happy when I release an album of Ram Dass miming or something, and you're like, I don't hear any sound. I'm like, it's in there, the energy's in there. Believe me, I was there. And so I asked a question, and he, as you know, as we all know, he had took a while to get out the words. And I knew that, and I was willing to be patient. And I asked a question about nature because we were looking out on the ocean, and it was hot, and the wind was coming through the windows, and there were birds, and that was just such a strong presence, and it's a big presence for me in my life. So I was kind of asking about how we can use nature, how we can work with nature to find our way through these times. And what he said was the song Nature, which some of you might have heard, and it's the first song on the record, and it's exactly what he said. Not necessarily the timing, like I shortened the pauses, but inside the music, he comes alive. Like, you don't think about the pauses. All you hear is Ram Dass's wisdom and mastery inside this music. And later on, I realized what an amazing mechanism the music was for him at that stage in his life, because it enlivened his message in a way that was a little harder to connect with without it. You know, obviously it wasn't the same as he was pre-stroke, but he continued to deepen his own wisdom and his own practice. And it was almost like the music helped it blossom in ways I hadn't connected to it as emotionally. Like music in a movie, just amplifying the emotional content. And I found this was doing something similar. But when he said what he said in the nature song, and I want to start with that one. But in the beginning, he's just saying like trees and water. And there's like a minute between each word, and I'm like, and where are we going with this? And then all our friends are us. And I'm like, And then he does the whole thing, and it's like there's little humor, as he does perfectly. And this perfect little arc of a micro teaching closes on this line. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is, I said, this is gold. And he turns over and he laughs. He's just like, it's like, this guy is top of his game and locked away in a certain way. And I was just like, then we were just off to the races. So I have the deep honor and pleasure to be able to like hit a button and hear Ram Dass's voice boom around speakers when I get to perform in different communities. And there's no greater joy than finishing a concert. I mean, I've said this one before, but I feel like it's a pretty good example. I was in, I think I was in Plano, Texas, maybe. And there was this guy, he's kind of cowboy, and clearly his wife or girlfriend had brought him, and he's out there. He listened, but he's doing his thing. He's just kind of with his cowboy hat and boots, and that's what cowboys have in Texas. And I finish, we're packing up, and he comes up and he's like, so my girlfriend brought me here. I didn't think much about this before, but I wanted to write down what's the name of this guy, this Dassi, Ram Dassi. And I just love watching them write it down and just almost like seeing the future unfold, like where is that guy now? I wish I could and just watch. It's like, the rabbit hole you're going to go down in the next few years. So amazing, It still makes, I get goosebumps thinking about it. And so getting to see that, of course, is always wonderful, and being in service to spreading that love. But what I want to do today is my work, this really comes wonderfully off of Spring. I want to thank her for that vulnerable and thoughtful talk. My work comes from the shamanic space, from psilocybin. And one of the songs, Ram Dass talks about psilocybin started him on his spiritual path. I mean, that's the first thing he says. And that's a pretty wild statement if you think about it. Like, if he's trying to say, like, without that psilocybin journey, we wouldn't be here, maybe. I mean, I think this was destined. But at the same token, acknowledging for him at least that initial spark. And the same thing happened for me in my own way, where I was a really tough nut to crack, at least, a real rational father and reductionist. And I mean, I needed something big to crack the egg to be like, oh, okay, there's more. There's more than just this. And I don't think I'd be standing here today if it wasn't for some of my seminal experiences with mushrooms and how they've informed my music. And it all started 15 years ago from being pushed by a friend into guiding ceremonies with people and not knowing what I was doing and trying to learn anything I could about sound healing and going to as many indigenous ceremonies as I could and talking and assisting and just learning and listening and trying to come to create a form of Western, almost American shamanic tradition through music. And music that spoke to me from our language of music, like what we've, that's what I grew up on, is the kind of chords and the Fender Rhodes and the pianos and electronic mixed with acoustic. That's what a lot of us grew up on. It's what I grew up on. And I wanted something that when I was in that space, it would take me to a place that music had taken me to, but speaking a language that was familiar to me musically. And so that is what we developed over the years, just trial and error with people, thousands of people, and developing a musical lexicon and language. And that eventually got into more of sort of, I guess, this. And I never anticipated it would be something like this. But in some ways, sitting there with Ram Dass and creating that work together was a kind of full circle of working with one of my elders and one of my teachers from afar. Is very meaningful for me. And so today I want to combine those two energies by bringing in the ceremonial music element, which for me is improvisational. It's less of a performance and more of what wants to come through. And then bringing Ram Dass into that, which I don't normally do in like a mushroom ceremony. And in that way, perhaps we're bringing to life these words. You might have heard them from the songs, but with different forms of music or riffing off of those songs. It has a newness to it right in this moment and only in this moment. And so what I ask of you to make that happen, to help it happen, to allow it to happen, is that I create the invitation for you to simply recognize that we're doing that together. I'm not up here just sort of generating something and presenting it for you to passively receive. It's more that your attention into this space, let's just call it the bhakti space, the love space, the emptiness. It feeds the emptiness itself for me to hopefully channel that back out. And it's like surfing, we kind of go in and we go out, we go in and we go out. But in that, we can have a real experience together that can be whatever it needs to be right now. So you can sit up, you can lie down. I think it'd be great if we could lower any of the lights and out. It won't make much difference, it's daylight. But to think of this as an internal journey and to see where it wants to take you with a sense of curiosity. That's really all I ask. We're here to listen and to receive, and to weave Ram Dass into this will be fun. And as a special treat, yesterday I found on my computer the original edit I made of the Ram Dass talk we used for the John Hopkins track called "Sit Around the Fire," and we ended up cutting that down. Yeah, John Hopkins, praise. I mean that. It was a wonderful experience. So I found I cut a 2-hour talk down to I think 10 minutes, and then John and I cut it down further. But I found I think the 10-minute version, and I would like to bring that. And I've never played music to it. I don't think I've even heard it since we originally did that, and see where that takes us. So that should be super fun. Does that sound good? All right. So why don't we get comfortable? And you're going to hear some field recordings in here that I've recorded of all sorts of various things. From nature, all sorts of things. Sounds of wilderness, reminding us of the wilderness in our own hearts. If it feels right to you, let's close your eyes. Just take a few breaths in and out. I like to breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth, only because it's really easy to differentiate which is which. At your pace, not labored, easy, natural. Just a wonderful reminder, yet again, of this technology of our breath that we carry with us, that we can turn on when we choose, watching our parasympathetic nervous system just start to calm us down to now. And if it feels right to you, let's put a hand on your heart, maybe the other hand on your abdomen, and just feel that energy moving between the two. And one thing we often do in the ceremonial space, at least, is to bring in the aspect of intention, or think of it like the beginning of a conversation. By casting that pebble into the water of your conversation, of your intention, it will ripple out and ripple back. It begins the journey. Why are you here? What is in your heart? You don't have to have an answer. It can just maybe be something for yourself, your family, your community, the Sangha, the world, all beings, the universe. It's up to you. There's no wrong answer. Just kind of plant that seed in your heart. Just breathe into it, and you can keep your hands there, release them when it feels right to you. Again, all we're here to do is to listen and be curious and be open to receive whatever wants to speak to us as we go on this musical journey together. Thank you so much for being here.
Grasses, water, sun, stars, moon, clouds, rain, all are our friends, are us. Nature embraces us, and we embrace nature. We are nature. We are the trees and the clouds and the waters. When you hug a tree, you're hugging yourself. We are human beings. Human beings are part of nature. When you're seeing the ocean or the lake or the river, you're seeing yourself. Nature is a manifestation of God. In that manifestation, it's love all the way. We have to get out of our minds. Our thinking minds. I'll tell you how I do it. By using a mantra or phrase. I am loving awareness. 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 Huh. awareness is a name for soul, which you really are. Leads you to love everything you are aware of. The sky, the room, your body, other people. And then I ride the mantra into my heart. And in my heart, I see a doorway or a veil to the next plane. Soulland. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. perception of the soul is love, 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 love. You love fellow souls. I love things. I love my pain, my wheelchair. I love you all. I love the whole universe. We love everyone by inhabiting the soul. Maharaji, in my second visit to India, took me aside and said to me, Ramdas, love everybody. And I said, I can't. My mind is full of judgments. He said, Ramdas, love everybody and tell the truth. And those instructions have been my guide to my sadhana. And my sadhana has led to my soul. when you witness a dark thought that isn't going to get you anywhere, you witness it and love it. You love your dark thought. Remember, the witness is part of the soul, and the soul loves everything. Everything, not every being, but everything. Loves the clouds, and the trees, and the fish, and the animals. And that love coalesces the universe. It's great to be in Soul Land, to identify with your individual soul in the plane of consciousness, which I call Soul Land. I go into Soul Land, and in the soul is the witness. You witness the whole thing. Witnessing your thoughts, witnessing your incarnation. You witness your whole life. Soul Land, Soul Land, Soul Land, Soul Land, you meet other souls. You meet your pod, soul pod, that have been with you infinitely.
Pain, pleasure, loss, gain, fame, shame. Pain, pleasure, loss, gain, fame, shame, life, death, good, evil, loss, gain, pleasure, pain, fame, shame, pleasure, pain, loss, gain, here, there, now, then, pleasure, pain, life, death, beyond all polarities, I am. Let the judgments and opinions of the mind be judgments and opinions of the mind, and you exist behind that. Ah, so. Ah, so. It's really time for you to see through the absurdity of your own predicament. You aren't who you thought you were. You just aren't that person. And in this very lifetime, you can know it. Right now. The real work you have to do is in the privacy of your own heart. All of the external forms are lovely. But the real work is your inner connection. If you're quiet when you meditate, if you truly open your heart, just quiet your mind. Open your heart. Quiet the mind, open the heart. How do you quiet the mind? You meditate. How do you open the heart? You start to love that which you can love and just keep expanding it. You love a tree, you love a river, you love a leaf, you love a flower, you love a cat, you love a human. But go deeper and deeper into that love. Till you love that which is the source of the light behind all of it. Behind all of it. You don't worship the gate, you go into the inner temple. Everything in you that you don't need, you can let go of. You don't need loneliness, for you couldn't possibly be alone. You don't need greed because you already have it all. You don't need doubt because you already know. Confusion is saying, I don't know. But the minute you are quiet, you find out that in truth you do know. For in you, you know. Plane after plane will open to you. I want to know who I really am. As if in each of us, there once was a fire. And for some of us, there seem as if there are only ashes now. But when we dig in the ashes, we find one ember, and very gently we fan that ember. Blow on it. It gets brighter. And from that ember, we rebuild the fire. The only thing that's important is that ember. That's what you and I our life totally involved in the world. We know that we're of the Spirit. At first, that still small voice, that tiny ember, is overshadowed by the incredible pressures, desires, attachments, possessions, collections of the world, of the marketplace. The ember gets stronger. Flame starts to flicker a bit. And pretty soon you realize that all we're going to do for eternity is sit around the fire. We're going back into the Fridion, the cave of the heart. The only beings that will sit around the fire with us are those who recognize the Spirit. And the confusion in many of you comes from the recognition of that pull and the realization that that pull doesn't seem to fit in with the life you've designed for yourself. Even a good life, even a yogic life, even a communal life, even an economically simple life, because your life was built out of despair. Out of a feeling that though you had touched the Spirit, you could never be the Spirit. Though you had touched love, you could never be love. But your unworthiness has led you to sell yourself short. Yourself to recognize that the light of the universe can pour through you. You, just who you are. It's funny, we get educated, we go to therapists, but we really don't ever believe we can change. In the most profound sense, that where in the core of ourselves we felt ugliness, there is suddenly beauty. Where in the core of ourselves we felt unworthiness, there is suddenly purity, spirit. Who could have believed that you could be that beautiful? Believe that you were a living spirit. Did you believe it? Did you believe that that little flickery ember you felt now and then could become the flame that would consume every impurity within you and leave you like a new baby? Get closer and closer and closer.
Breathe it in. Breathe it in. Breathe in that truth, that seed that you planted at the beginning, and receive. Whatever it is, it's perfect for you. It's perfect for you. The sweet nothingness is perfect for you. The loving knowing. I told Ram Dass at one point, I said, it's perfect. And he laughed. He said, perfect, perfect, and laughed. I turned it into a song. But it's okay sometimes for us to just really take it in the moment and be like, despite it all, it's perfect. And thank you for the grace. So thank you for the grace of channeling that journey together, playing with Ram Dass and Maharaji and all of us in the Sangha. It's truly an honor. And thank you to Radha for her help. And everyone that loves her, remember, and Raghu, it's been wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you.